it play and call it work.
Hey there folks, Josh here bringing this week's Sit and Talk. You will notice my partner in crime, Lee, is not here with us this week. He's doing a staycation, so basically he's off work, but he's not really traveling anywhere. He's just taking some time off, well-deserved rest. So, sorry for anybody that wanted to ask questions to Lee, but I do think Matt mentioned it last week. So keep in mind, next week is going to be Quirk. So if you have any questions for Quirk, leave them in the comment section of this video, not on YouTube, not the Sit and Vault, just this video right here on the MiniWarGaming website. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it, and I'm going to answer some questions. Big thanks to everybody that had left me questions. I know I was a little short on questions for a while there, but you Facebook-type people helped me out. All right. Starting off, we have Seesaw. Maybe. Hey Josh, if you could change from a narrative perspective a faction in 40K, which would it be, how, why, and what effects would it have in universe, in game? Ooh, okay. Pretty much what I'm going to answer for all this stuff is whatever pops into my mind in the first place. So I think a single change. Okay, well, I think most people that have watched any of my Sit and Talks or my stuff know that I'm not a big fan of the current Space Wolves and the Wolfie Wolfingtons. But one of the other changes I think actually would be a big one for me is going back to the feel of the 3rd edition Necrons, if that makes sense. Where, you know, they didn't really talk, they didn't have personalities. They felt a lot more ominous back then because you didn't know much about them, their history, what they were all about. They just seemed a lot scarier than the kind of scheming space Egyptian theme that they have going on right now. So I'm not a big fan of that. So I think I would go back to the older feel of the Necrons, where they were just this kind of silent, scary race that they almost weren't fleshed out, but that worked better for them. They seemed so much more ominous and scary than the current iteration of them. In-game changes, I don't know how much that would technically change in-game, other than, you know, maybe a distinct lack of named characters. I think the current interaction with the Catan, Satan, however you want to pronounce the Star Gods' names, I think that would change, because I don't know where they currently are with them, but I don't know if they're enslaved to the Necrons now or how that works, but I just found them a lot cooler back in the day. All right. Also, tell us more about the scheduling side of your job / promotion. Okay, so somebody must have said something about what I do now for a living. Okay. So I'll kind of touch on what I do. So I'm currently, my job title is the studio manager. So I oversee the scheduling of guests on a day-to-day kind of thing. So everybody's schedule, and that's from... What do you think here? Matt and Dave, Quirk, Steve, Luca, myself. As far as what people are filming on a day-to-day basis, that's what I do, is I schedule all of that stuff, as well as I do all the incoming emails for guests that want to set up a game. So basically, if you email support@miniwargaming.com, Aaron filters those emails, and for folks that have technical support kind of issues, they go to Aaron, and pretty much everything else comes to me. So I take care of all that, schedule the guests in. I'm also the one that's scheduling when the content goes out. And granted, I mean, like, I work with everybody else, Matt especially, on this sort of stuff to make sure we're on the same page. But it's basically my job to take that stuff off of the shoulders of Matt and Dave so they can focus on working on other things. Currently, it would be the bunker as well as the narrative content we're doing. So that's the majority of it. Like, when guests come in, I'm usually the one taking care of the guests in the morning, getting them, you know, settled into the room that they're going to be filming in, whether or not they're playing against me, make sure everybody's comfortable, they have what they need, the paperwork that needs to get filled out gets filled out, and, you know, if they got to borrow miniatures, whatever it might be, it's basically my job just to keep things flowing here at MiniWarGaming. So It's my job to keep the ship pointed in the right direction, if that makes sense. So, okay, that's what I do for a living right now, and that's why you see less of me in the videos. I've been doing that for a couple months. Previous to that, I don't know how far back that's going. The title I used to have was guest coordinator, so I was doing all the emails with guests and all that, but I wasn't technically doing as much of the scheduling everybody else. But now I kind of oversee the day-to-day here at MiniWarGaming. But yeah, that sums that up. Let's see here. This is so much more boring without Lee here. I miss him. It's sad. He also is the one that talks while I drink my water. Something angry. Josh, we know that y'all are bored with 30K. You don't know anything about me, man. I love 30K. I'm not bored of it at all. We're not bored of 30K. I don't know what you're speaking on here, but overall, let's be frank, 30K content, the views were never as good as some of the other stuff, and they had dropped off pretty heavily when 8th edition hit. So you might not be bored of 30K, but a good chunk of the internet was less interested in 30K. It isn't dead, so please bring back the 30K bat reps. Okay. I think I see what you're getting at. So I've talked about this one a couple different times. If you're familiar with MiniWarGaming, obviously you know that the company runs off of having guests come into play. It tends to be very inefficient for us to do content producer versus content producer, unless it's some sort of special content, narrative campaigns or things like that. But standard bat reps doesn't make sense from a business perspective to always have content producer versus content producer. Every once in a while we do it, but typically we try to avoid it. You talk a little bit more about, 40K, you're not a big fan of 40K, So yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I think leading in from the previous thing I talked about in the role that I play right now, I can speak to why there's no 30K. I got no guests. I do all the emails incoming for 30K, 40K, Age of Sigmar. Anybody that wants to come in and play, I'm the one that handles the emails. And I could pretty comfortably say probably for every 25, maybe 25 to 50, somewhere in there, 40K challenges, I get 130K. And I book them whenever I can, whenever it makes sense. But unfortunately, yeah, people aren't coming in to play. Now, I'd love to have more people sign up to come play and have some more regular 30K. There is a talking point about that. It's not like 30K is ever going to overtake 40K for when it's going to be put out. I think currently we're doing 3 days of 40K. Because, yeah, Monday and Friday are typical, bat reps. And then Wednesdays, the discussion or the retrospective review videos. I would be fine having one of those days be a 30K day. Once per week, every other week or something like that. But nobody's coming into play. And then moving over to saying, well, we could just do content producer versus content producer. Because that's the suggestion that I've had when I've talked to people via email about this. It doesn't make sense from a business perspective. They're less popular videos, and if you think about it this way, from the business perspective, whenever I have two content producers in the same room filming together, that video costs us twice as much to make as filming one with a guest. And it's not like we're rolling in the dough. I didn't drive into my Lamborghini today. So we do have to make smart business decisions. Every once in a while, we can, go out on a limb and try something that, if it's not financially successful, it's not the end of the world. It's stuff that we want to try. But regular 30K is one of those things that, unfortunately, without guests, it ain't going to happen. So I think I've spoken to that one enough. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with 30K, unfortunately. I'd love to get more people coming into play. There's no conspiracy about us, turning down 30K guests or anything like that. Because if anybody was turning down 30K guests, it would be me, and I'm the one that likes 30K the most, and I want to play it more. So, I don't know. If you folks are watching and you want to sign up to play 30K, give me a shout, because I'd love to get some more games in. That being said, can't do it without the support of guests right now. Also, I no longer believe the studio has a Mastodon. We never did have a Mastodon. Lee has one, but that's personal. Seen it at bat rep by now since the $400 model. Yeah. If somebody ever brings one in, but yeah, the only one I know of in the studio right now, which I'm pretty sure I would know if there was a Mastodon in here, is Lee's personal model. And obviously, Lee doesn't get the chance to play very often. Also, Chris never answers his emails. I don't know. I can't speak to that one. I don't know what kind of stuff you're emailing him to. Try to get answers for, but you can always CC me and Josh at MiniWarGaming.com, and if it's something I can help you out with, then we'll go from there. And all this AOS coverage has been awesome. Although I'd like to see more 30K and less 40K. Yeah, the AOS coverage has been a lot of fun. People seem to be enjoying it. I'd love to see a little less 40K and a little bit more 30K. 30K is probably one of my favorite game systems, but hey man, it's twofold. I got to do what's best for the company, and nobody's signing up, so it's not even like I have the decision to have 30K or not right now. All right, next we got Hailwind. I think I said that right. Good day, oh great breaded one. Did you mean to say bearded, or did you intend to say breaded? How was your day? My day is going fantastic. I don't enjoy the heat. Today is super hot up here in Canada. I'm not having fun, but it's not that hot compared to everywhere else. You know, comments about people from Texas or everywhere else. I don't like the heat at all. So yeah, not enjoying that, but otherwise it is pretty hunky-dory. Many have answered this one already. May have answered this one already, but what do you think of your thumbnail? Looks odd to me. Will Cullen do a sit and talk? I have some questions for him. Cullen's not going to be in the regular rotation for sit and talk, but I don't know, maybe he'll interview himself for one of the open vaults. And who knows, maybe we'll try to rope him into the rotation at some point. Yeah, I'll see what I can do. I might be able to get him to sit in with somebody else, but probably not on his own. Now, as far as I know, I don't have a thumbnail for the bearded bat reps yet. Quirk put that one up the other day because he just could not think of anything creative, and we were just making the most terrible, scary-looking things we could, and that's what he came up with, the one he put on Facebook, and that is absolute nightmare fuel. So, I don't know what my thumbnail is going to end up looking like, but I'm curious to see when it's done. All right, next we got Anarchy33. Josh, when it comes to deciding on paint schemes for armies that others paint for me, how do you decide what to go for? Okay, and more specifically, how much thought goes into basing your miniatures? Do you consider what boards you're likely to be playing on, or the lore of the armor, and what kind of environment they're from? So as far as the paint schemes, there's a good amount of thought that goes into it. I'm relatively picky about what I want to put on the table. And that's a major reason why I usually have my stuff commission painted, because it's either going to take me too long to accomplish what I want, or I'm such kind of a nitpick perfectionist that I know I'll never finish it myself, so I hand it off to somebody else. So there's a good amount of thought. It's pretty much the lore of the armies that I look into, and whatever kind of, interests me the most when it comes to the overall scheme. So the Mordians, I love the Mordians. I love the look of them. I wanted something other than the standard U.S. Marine Corps kind of blue mixed with Prussian kind of scheme. So we went for the Royal Regiment of Canada kind of scheme, the red and black. So, that's where that thought came from. I've got some knights that Dan from Max Aggression Gaming, Dan Beatty, you've seen him in bat reps before. He's going to paint up some knights for me. I'm going to go house Mortan with them because the scheme looks really cool. Knight Lords obviously have a certain scheme because that's what they look like in the lore, and I wanted to stick with that. And specifically, how much that goes into basing your miniatures. Okay, so for the miniatures, I think you'll notice most of what I do pretty simple. I prime the bases, then go with some Elmer's white glue and just do the really kind of fine-grained sand. And from there, wash that with Earthshade and then, some static grass. The reason I do that because it's a relatively neutral kind of looking basing scheme. that no matter what I do that along with, it still looks fine. So I'm not going to be shoehorned into deciding, I want a certain paint scheme for an army, but the basing scheme doesn't match. And I want all the armies to be fairly cohesive because they can kind of look the same on the when I put them on whatever board. So there's not a ton of consideration. Like I look at the Imperial Fist, the few that I have, the basing I did for them, that's a little bit more themed, and I don't like it because it's a bunch more work. Plus the fact it looks great on some boards and terrible on others. So I tend to stay pretty basic when it comes to doing my basing. So there you go. There's that one. Next we got Fluff Matters. Hello, fellow bearded heartthrob. Well, hello. 2 questions today. What's the largest game points-wise you've been involved in? That one's pretty easy. It's however many points Luca and I did for the Apocalypse game we played. I think that was 20,000 total, like 10,000 per side. And how much paint does MiniWarGaming go through a month? I honestly can't say. Lee would be the one that could answer that, and unfortunately he's not here this week, but enough. Dan Beatty's the one that supplies us with paint, and I think he's always happy when we put a paint order in because it's just big cardboard boxes of nothing but paint that show up. So I think we go through a pretty fair amount, though. Lee's a pretty busy guy. Okay, WB Freak 54. Josh, Matt says you were promoted. Okay, so Matt's the one that spilled the beans on that one. And I'm assuming he did it in the Sit and Talk. So, congrats. Well, yeah, thank you very much. What are these new duties and how does your current day look? So basically, I mean, it's not that different from before. If I have game schedule, I'll still come in, but I try to get here early enough that I can make sure everybody's guests are where they need to be. Get everybody signing off on the paperwork at the same time for the waiver, release of liability stuff. And basically, I run around and put out fires. So I just kind of go through, I make sure the guests are taken care of first and foremost. If I have a game, obviously I go to play my game. Otherwise, I'm going through the content schedule as well as everybody else's schedule, responding to emails, and just making sure the videos go up. I try my best to go through the comment section of certain videos. So if there's some sort of technical issues, hopefully we can catch it early enough to be able to fix it. So that kind of stuff. But basically, I just do whatever needs to get done. So the day begins making sure the guests are taken care of first and foremost, because that's super important to me. And from there, I go around and figure out what needs to get done and then get it done. So that's lots of fun. I don't like doing the same thing every single day. Lots of emails, though. Lots and lots of emails. So that's probably, if you're one of the folks that used to email me back and forth before I was doing what I'm doing now, you'll notice my response time has slowed down considerably. That's because, before I'd have, 2 or 3 emails to respond to a day. And now I have, 25 plus emails to respond to a day. And those can get backlogged pretty bad sometimes. So that's why I'm a little bit slower there. But I still always welcome people emailing me, as long as you know that it might take me a little while to get back to you. Next, we got also, I'm confused on the whole painting up there. Which of the content producers paint models? For those who don't, why, timescale, what? Okay, so I can talk about that stuff. So content producers, we got Matt and Dave. Obviously, they don't, neither of them do any paint. They don't really enjoy it. Steve really enjoys painting, so he paints a lot of stuff, even though he's started to go the commission route a little bit, just to help himself keep caught up. Luca paints his own stuff. So the Necrons that have kind of the Tron looking scheme with the black and green, those are painted by him. I'm not sure what else he's painted of his own stuff. His Death Guard. So he paints, not as much as the other folks. And Steve will paint for the company sometimes. Luca will paint for the company sometimes. And then same with Quirk. Quirk's probably the least of a collector out of the bunch of us. So he's got less of his own personal stuff. But every once in a while, he'll try a one-off project just to do something. He's a great painter when he tries to apply himself, when he's really into it. But otherwise, he's pretty lazy. So the only content producer left that we haven't talked about is myself. I simply don't enjoy painting miniatures that I plan on using on camera. to get to the level that I'm happy with the paint job and put them on the board. It's not worth my time. My skill level isn't there when it comes to speed. And so, yeah, I will paint occasionally once in a while, but most of my paint when it comes to especially company stuff is jumping in and helping somebody like Lee when he's doing, batch painting. I'll jump in and do basing. I'll do, picking out the metallics, if you need stuff washed. But to sit down and paint a miniature start to finish, just not my cup of tea. I used to paint, I used to enjoy it, but when it comes to the professional level, and I'm slow, I'm not super talented, and it's just not worth it for me. But every once in a while, I'll still work on a little bit of stuff, I feel like. P.S. I used to rock a beard like you, but I was told I had to shave it to way down to keep my job. I'm a teacher of English literature. Do you think a beard would prevent you from learning in my class? No, not at all. I don't know. There's something, old-timey English literature. You should have a big, contemplating what you're reading beard. Oh, that sucks. They made you shave it, eh? I don't know. When it comes to job stuff like that, it's sometimes a fine line on what they can do appearance-wise. I know I got a lot of friends and family that are either military, law enforcement, and there's rules and regulations there, but sometimes it's safety stuff. Like you can't get a gas mask to get a proper seal if you've got a beard. So things like that. But yeah, that sucks, dude. But yeah, it wouldn't prevent me from learning at all. Next, we got Cheeky Chap. I like that name. I feel like I would have recognized that name. Are you new? Or have I just never read your name? Josh, simple question. Good army to beat up 40k knights with. Ooh, to beat up 40k knights. Okay, I think you get a couple options because you want, a good spread of firepower. I first and foremost believe in take an all-comers lists. I don't like tailored lists. So some of my top picks for you would be AdMech have some good shooting, but I don't think they're the best. Obviously, bringing knights yourself would be a good option because the best thing to kill a knight is often a knight. Other than that, though, I think a really strong choice would probably be the good old Imperial Guard because there is so much firepower there. Maybe not currently how I have the army built, but I feel pretty confident, taking a guard army versus knights and probably doing pretty good. So I don't know, what kind of firepower army do you want? As far as fighting them in close combat, I don't know. I'm not a huge close combat kind of player, so I can't give you any suggestions there. But yeah, just shoot them to death and you don't have to worry about it. All right. My apologies. I don't think the mic will be picking up me sipping from the cup at all, but if it does, I'm sorry. It's either that or you can listen to me smack my lips the whole time. All right, next we got Joe8170. Hey Josh, what is Crackalacan Ombre? Crackalacan Ombre? I don't even know the right ways to say it. Where are you? I wonder if you've ever visited England. So you're English. How does an English guy say, what is Crackalacan Ombre? Ombre. I'm wondering the pronunciation over there. If I've ever visited England, if so, where did you go? I have not visited England ever. I've never been over to anywhere in Europe. If not, why not? Our beer is good and our beards are plentiful. You know what? I'm sure your beer is great over there. I'd love to go get over. I'm a big fan of any kind of stouts, so I'd love to get over there. And your beards are plentiful. Are they luxurious, though? I'm not sure. Actually, with any luck, I might be going to the UK in the next little while. If you folks go over to Geek Nation Tours, really cool business run by a fellow named Terrace, and it's basically like guided tours is I think the easiest way. Go check it out and it'll make more sense. But there is one coming up. It's the Miniatures in the UK Tour 2019, and that is happening in April. So with any luck, if Terrace is able to fill that tour up, then I will be tagging along with him, going over to the UK for I think it's about 2 weeks. So I'd love to have that one happen. So yeah, England seems cool, but I don't know. I've got other places I would visit first. But yeah, no, I definitely want to get over to the Lead Belt especially and check out, some of the some of the wargaming stuff and just kind of seeing where it's all coming from. All right, another question I've been wondering is, what faction of 40k would you say stays true to the lore of the faction based on the rules for the game? Thank you for the good work and keep it coming up, Millhouse, from Luca. Nice. Okay. Stays true to the lore. Well, Space Marines don't because they're terrible. I mean, Chaos always loses everything and they've got bad rules, so that's kind of true to the lore. I think AdMech does a pretty good job of sticking to the lore, but I really like how the Imperial Guard work. I think they stay pretty true to their roots right now. So I'll say the Guard. I think the Guard, I like the way they play compared to the lore of them. It just meshes up kind of nicely. The Death Watch, to a certain degree, they're the kind of elite Marines that they should be. But I liked it better just when it was little individual kill teams. To have a whole army seems weird to me. It's not my favorite thing, but I still love that army, so I'm going to continue to play it. All right. Next, we got Oberon. Josh, a few questions. Any advice for a starting AdMech player? What are your thoughts on knights and all-knight armies? Are Electro Priests worth it in an AdMech army, in your opinion? What products do you use for your beard? Keep up the great work. Keep rocking, Beardo. All right. Let's start talking about AdMech. Starting AdMech. You know what? I think you have a lot of good options. I would say for AdMech, my advice for starting players, don't try to specialize on a single specific thing. Because even if it works for you, it gets boring after a while. Try to have some variety between mobility, close combat, and firepower. Thoughts on knights and all-knight armies? I think the knight models are super awesome. I finally got one. It's not done yet. Dan's working on it right now. All-knight armies, I've never seen one played, or I've never played one myself, so I can't say. I think they're effective, probably. They're probably cool. I wonder if they'd play somewhat like the Beast Claws do, where it's just a super elite, big scary army. I can't say. I think knights definitely do a good job of being that centerpiece of your army, and having a single knight allied in would probably be worth it. But again, don't skimp on the fundamentals of the army to do so. Electro Priest worth in an AdMech army? Yeah. They're really good. I like to run them in units of 10 because that's just kind of how we got them painted up. But I find units for either of the Corpus Carii or the Fulgurite, running squads of 5 is too small. 20 is too unwieldy, so that 10 to 15 range is probably right where you want to be. But yeah, they're definitely worth it. They have a lot of potential. But you can also lose them pretty easily if you do, dumb things with them. So don't build your list around it, but make sure they're not just a throwaway unit. What products do I use for my beard? Okay. I've got a homemade beard wash I use once every couple days. Other than that, I've got a couple different beard oils and beard balms I rotate through depending on what the weather's like. So right now I've got like a balm, and it's not, it's more like a cream almost. It doesn't have as much hold as the kind of wax-like balms that I use from time to time, because the weather's crazy outside and I'm not going to try to fight it, that humidity. But yeah, there's a bunch of different stuff. I've tried around with a bunch of different stuff, but nice, simple, kind of clean products. The brand I usually go with is one called the Northern Beard Company, I believe is what it is. And then, like I said, other stuff I have is homemade. Next, we got time for another question or two before we jump over into the vault. We got Nagram29. At Josh, with the new point reductions, what are your thoughts on the Beastclaw Raiders in 2nd edition? Do you find the flat 6 mortal wounds on a 2-up from the Thunder Chest to be too much, or something they need to stay in the game? I've just done a faction focus and kind of talked about them. The point reductions, it all makes sense. There's nothing that I'm really disappointed in there, other than the fact the Warshore battalions are still way too expensive for what they do, in my oh-so-humble opinion. But if they made them cheaper, you would take it. You'd be able to beat your opponent on drops a lot easier and take that first turn and just win a bunch. So, I don't know. Overall, though, the units, I find the point cost to be appropriate. 6 mortal wounds on a 2-up. I don't think... Okay. It's handy to have. I don't need that to win a game at all. But it is handy to have. Do I think it's too much compared to some of the other armies out there and what they're capable of doing? No. It's super annoying. It's super frustrating. But I can't, there's a bunch of the other top tier armies out there that are super annoying. Lucas spends a command point to bring back an entire unit of, summonable dead things. Cool. I think that's more powerful, more useful all around than the 6 mortal wounds on a 2-up. Because his is guaranteed. And it's worth a lot more points. But, I don't know. People are always going to complain about it because it's so annoying. I will give you that. Is it too much? Not at all. All right, we're going to do one more before we jump into the vault here. We have got Chosen One. I recognize you. Hey, Josh, even with the wide reaches of eBay, I'm having trouble finding the large amount of Tyrant Dripper swarms I require. Do you have any ideas for substitutes or something I could convert in lieu of proper models? I've been considering using Epic 40k Termagants. Oh, you spelt it right, too. Good man. With a bit of fidgeting to make them look right. Whew. Is Epic 40k Termagants going to be that much cheaper? I don't know of any aftermarket companies making Ripper type swarms, but there's going to be something out there. There's Forge World ones. I don't know if they're too expensive or if they're even still in production, but that might be an option because they looked really cool. Or I wonder if instead of going eBay, you go onto some of the bits shops and see if you can just buy them separate. I tell you what, shoot me an email, josh@miniwargaming.com, and I'll see if I can track something down for you, because I'm curious myself now, too. Did you guys ever get the AC fixed to make the summers there more survivable? I live in MS, and the idea of being without an air conditioner frightens me. It's kind of fixed. I mean, it's a patchwork nightmare. But it works for right now. Like, we're not dying. It's just hopefully that stuff holds. I think every couple days Rob has to go over and tinker with it to try to get it. We've basically, if you've been here at MiniWarGaming or you've seen the open vaults, you probably know the layout. So I'm currently in the war zone. The small warehouse is right there, and then the Orc Studio's on the other side. So what we've got is in the warehouse, there's 2 portable air conditioning units that are vented out that window, and they're both, there's basically holes in the wall that we're venting the cold air into. So it's okay. It's just a matter of just trying to keep the everything sealed up relatively tight so all the air is getting into here. But yeah, it's not that bad. Thirdly, is the amount of chicken wings consumed by Canadians directly correlated to the high price of chicken there? Oh man, is chicken expensive here? It's not uncommon for me to pay $1.79 for boneless skinless. I don't know chicken prices, man. For glory and green stuff, Chosen One. Now you get me shook while you're talking about chicken. No, the amount of chicken wings consumed by Canadians is directly correlated to how hungry we are. Was Matt talking about chicken? I don't know chicken price off the top of my head. Keep in mind, too, though, if you're down in the U.S., there's always the conversion for, your currency typically being worth more than ours is. So, I don't know. I don't buy a lot of boneless, skinless chicken, though. So, I'm going to leave you on that one. Everybody that's tuned in and left questions, thank you so much. Again, keep in mind, next week is going to be Quirk answering questions. So if you have questions for Quirk, leave them in this video on the MiniWarGaming website, nowhere else, because you won't see them. Other than that, Vault members, go ahead and click on the link below to go to part 2 of the Sit and Talk, the Sit and Vault, where I'll continue answering everybody's questions. If you're not a Vault member, click on the link anyways. It'll take you to a 7-day free trial. You get to check out the second part of this video, as well as every other video we have in the Vault. So everything we do, we try to do in pairs. So twice as much content, fun behind-the-scenes stuff. Check it out. Other than that, thanks for tuning in. Keep being awesome, and happy wargaming.